Several of the family members were asleep in this room and heard glass smashing on that side of the house. So everyone ran over here, hid in this closet, slammed the door shut, and tried to hold it closed as they dialed 911. I'm at Cackley Environmental, and if it looks like there's a lot going on, that's because there is. This facility right here handles half of the recycling for Fresno and all of it for Madera County below 1,000-foot elevation. There is one last thing I want to try to point out to you guys. I'm not sure how well you can see on camera, but right here across from the tree line where the birds are, the road looks like it's practically covered in snow because of all the poop that's accumulated. That's despite all of the city's efforts to clean things up. Then when you get past the tree line just a few feet, things really start to just be a smattering of the bird poop, and a few feet more, clean road. It's all over, just a few feet past where the birds have been nesting. I asked her what she was thinking when this happened. She told me, quote, "It's a very ugly thing, and to be honest, I can't sleep." We had a good run. I talked with a man who was finally able to open up about the Vietnam War while he was in DC after decades of silence. CAL FIRE was not sure how that man is doing tonight, just that he was taken to CRMC. It took a huge team to extinguish this blaze. CAL FIRE, the Air National Guard, and city fire departments for both Fresno and Clovis all worked to get it out. Every department at Island Water Park right now has openings, but the biggest need is for lifeguards. The park is looking to hire 75 more. Did it seem like there were a lot of crazy drivers on the road this weekend? It did to me, and if it seemed that way to you too, it's because there were. And I know what you guys are thinking. Kevin Raymer's not here? Why am I even watching this? I can get the weather from my phone, but no. I've got fun facts in this forecast, so stick around, but first we've got a message from our sponsors. Humidity 47%. I also thought that seemed high. Kind of high for our area this time of year, but it actually turns out up to 55% is considered comfortable. After that, it starts getting a little muggy, and 65% is where we really start to worry. So right now, we are in the clear. Look at all that mild happening. That's deceptive. There is actually stuff we got to talk about, and we'll do that after the break. For your pollen and mold levels, we're doing a little bit better than we were yesterday. That was the medium to high range. And tomorrow, we're going to actually improve just a little bit in that realm as well.
Heading down further, here comes 4Gs.
As we started the flight, I was optimistic. Look at me smiling. I'm in good hands, great hands. The pilot I was with has clocked more than 1,400 flight hours. And he's one of 7 Blue Angel pilots in the world right now, representing 800,000 sailors and Marines.
Our entire goal is to inspire a culture of excellence and service to country. So whether that's through military service or through your local region, just doing something to make the world around you a better place.
I got multiple debriefings and pressure suit trainings, prepping me to withstand the G-forces during the flight. You have to flex your abs, thighs, glutes, and calves, take half a breath in and hold it, making this sound.
It's a bit of an athletic event, so we're going to pull some G's. It's going to be a little warm. You're going to be flexing your muscles to stay awake, and about 45 minutes of it, it'll be pretty tiring, but that's why we stay on top of it through exercise, physical fitness.
Let me make this clear. I am not the adventurous type. I'm not a speed demon. I don't like roller coasters.
Ready to roll upside down? Yes. All right, ready, hit it.
I was not ready.
And there is -1G. All right, so I'm going to push the nose of the jet up and roll this back upright. You'll feel a little bit more push. And there we go. North American.
Moments later was the first of 2 occasions I reached for the barf bags the Blue Angels so generously provided. The second was after we got as close as possible to breaking the sound barrier without actually doing so.
There's 98% of the speed of sound. We're doing about 630 knots ground speed, so almost 700 miles an hour.
Shortly after that,
ready, hit it. You're halfway there. And you're all the way there. Go ahead and relax.
I relaxed too much.
And we're flying straight up and down.
I'm unconscious for about 7 seconds before I wake up and look around, entirely confused as to where I am. That was around 40 minutes into the flight, and I was about done after that. Earlier in the day, I'd asked Lieutenant Commander Kerry Rickoff what he'd want you guys at home to know.
We're normal people.
I'm going to stop him right there. That just isn't true. Or at least he and I have vastly different views on the word normal. But I get what he means.
We come from the fleet, we go back to the fleet. We're a normal naval pilot or naval maintainer, just in a blue flight suit. And then once our time's up here, we go back, just carry on the tradition.
Glad I did it, but will not be doing that again. At Lemoore Naval Air Station, Marie Edinger, Fox 26, your hometown news connection.
Major Will Goodrich has 2 Bronze Stars and a medal for meritorious service. He did 3 tours in Vietnam, but each time he came back, he hid who he was.
When you're a Vietnam vet and you're coming home and you've come home 3 times, I never wore a uniform once I got back into the States because I didn't fancy being spit at or spit on or flipped off or in some way disrespected. But now we've reached a point in our history where most service in the interests of our country's security is respected.
He spent 20 years in the Army, and once he was out, he just stopped talking about it.
Oh, he didn't want to wear green. He didn't want to wear his hair short. When he first retired, he was ready to start a new life and completely closed the door on that one. But it took this trip for him to really open up to me. I learned things I didn't even know until we got here.
At the Vietnam Wall, Goodrich found the name of his friend, Anthony Del Pozo. He'd been shot dead by the Viet Cong while flying a helicopter, the last helicopter pilot killed in Vietnam.
Would he have grandchildren? What would have happened to him? And that gives you kind of a strange feeling when you run your hand over that and you think of what would his life have been.
Goodrich was right by him when it happened.
What he did and his co-pilot allowed me to continue on and have children and grandchildren and now great-grandchildren.
3 other higher-ranking officers in the copter were hit too, but Goodrich somehow made it out uninjured. It's stories like that Goodrich was free to share on the honor flight, free to talk with others who would understand and relate and support him.
I wanted to enjoy the experience of doing this and talking about what we did because nobody's going to spit on me.
I just want to say thank you again to all the veterans who talked with me for all these stories, everyone who opened up and shared part of themselves through these. It's just been such a privilege and an honor to be able to bring those stories to you guys, and I'm kind of sad it's over.
I think that's what's kind of cleansing is when you talk to so many of these veterans and people, after they get up, maybe to go to the bathroom or something, people will go, I have never heard that story and I've known this man for 30 years.
Yeah, that is kind of what happened with this. So the woman who you saw in that story, Amber, it's Will's daughter, she brought up that her daughter, who is now 30 years old, asked a fairly simple question, and the answer was like the first time Will Goodrich had talked about his time in Vietnam.
He opened up.
In those 30 years, and then on the honor flight was really the first time he opened up, she was telling me, and that's just such a valuable experience. And
that's why it's a great flight.
Exactly.
It's just a great trip.
And right now there are over 600 veterans who are still on the waiting list to go on the honor flight, and it's going to take about 10 trips, about $2 million. The nonprofit that leads the trip is constantly seeking donations. Under current California law, I could be hired right now as an athletic trainer, even though I have no training in that field, no medical expertise. That is clearly not a situation you want for your kids, but it is happening right here in the Central Valley.
A peer-reviewed study shows 7% of California high schools, or 1 in 14, have someone working as an athletic trainer who isn't certified.
The risks are high because it's interesting because in California you can be licensed to get your nails done, licensed to get a haircut, but we're not licensing or protecting this profession that, a lot of our youth are depending on.
Susie Gattas is the head athletic trainer at McLean High School. She is certified, as are all of the full-time athletic trainers employed by the Fresno Unified School District.
When we did our research a few years ago and we created this position, that was one thing that we wanted to make sure and have is we wanted to have all of our athletic trainers certified through their professional organization.
Certification means graduating with at least a bachelor's degree, often also a master's, from an accredited professional athletic training program, going through an athletic training grad program, and passing a test with the Board of Certification. Without that,
they don't have the skills and the knowledge and expertise to protect the health and safety of that student athlete. So that could be in your school, in your community.
The National Athletic Trainers Association, or NATA, says it's been trying to pass licensure laws in California for decades. The lack of licensing isn't only letting undertrained people into the system, it's keeping trained people from being able to do their jobs fully. Gatas was licensed as an athletic trainer in Texas, but in California, no such thing exists.
I was able to actually diagnose concussions because I was a licensed healthcare provider. The law here is that if we have a concussion on the sideline, I remove them, and I've been trained in concussions. I would say I have high training in concussions, but I cannot diagnose because I am not a licensed athletic trainer.
In August of this year, the University of Connecticut's Corey Stringer Institute ranked California dead last in its efforts to keep student athletes safe. The California ATA says the Golden State averages 8.7 catastrophic injuries and 3.2 deaths for athletes each year.
If you have someone who's not trained as an athletic trainer providing care, you will have misdiagnoses. You might have a situation where that person thinks that there's nothing wrong with that person, and then they return them to play, and more harm and more injury has occurred.
NATA is working right now to get 2 bills passed in California. AB 1592 would require licensure for athletic trainers, and a Practice Act would require an athletic trainer at every practice.
I would challenge parents to ask their elected officials why they're not prioritizing the health and safety of those student athletes.
Until then,
we are kind of playing a little bit of Russian roulette here and just hoping for the best.
Just as a disclosure, I do have a personal connection with this story. In high school, I tore my labrum weightlifting, and were it not for the fantastic athletic trainers at my high school, I wouldn't have had immediate access to physical therapy or even know what had happened. So I am enormously grateful to those athletic trainers and to my school for having that resource available. If they hadn't been, my injury could have lasted much longer. My arm might not be the same as it is today.